Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, we're going to be breaking down one of my favorite PGA Tour events on the yearly calendar. That is the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I just have a ton of good vibes coming into this tournament. This is the site of one of my biggest DFS wins ever in the 2021 edition of this tournament. This is a golf course that personally I think my game would play really well at. And this is just like one of the most picturesque, most famous, most noteworthy courses in America. And it's just great that we have all the best players in the world here for an event, and we get to see this beautiful, iconic golf course on our television screen for 4 days. So I'm just very much looking forward to this. And so in this episode, we're going to break down why I'm looking forward to it. We're going to talk about the course itself, what you can expect from it, why I think my personal golf game would play well here, and then what types of golfers on the PGA Tour are going to play well here. And then we're going to take a look at the board and tell you what you can expect from DFS, betting, and one-and-done formats this week. So no matter what game you're playing, no matter what action you got going on here this week at Pebble Beach, we are going to have you covered and hopefully help you guys pick out some winners. Now, if you have not already, make sure you have subscribed to the channel. That way you can be with us for the rest of the PGA Tour season, as well as all of our college basketball content that is coming your way all the way up through the Final Four. But we will be here weekly for golf previews on Monday night. You can set your calendar by it. So if you're subscribed, you'll know exactly when these episodes drop. All right. Like I said, I'm very much looking forward to this. So let's not delay it any longer. Let's go ahead and start breaking down Pebble Beach. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention that we are still in the middle of course rotation season. This is the last of the multiple course events on the PGA Tour this season. And this is probably one of the most noteworthy because, we mentioned Pebble Beach. We mentioned how Pebble Beach is one of the most iconic courses in America. Well, 3 of the rounds at this tournament are going to be played at Pebble Beach. One round by every golfer, either on Thursday or on Friday, is going to be played at Spyglass Hill. Spyglass Hill is kind of on the same property as Pebble Beach. The reason that they do this is because this tournament is still a pro-am. Amateurs will be paired with a pro for the first 2 days of this tournament. And so everybody will get 1 round at Pebble Beach, 1 round at Spyglass Hill, partnered with their amateur playing as foursomes. So Spyglass Hill, you're only going to get 1 round here, but it kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Similar skill sets to Pebble Beach. Similar agronomy to Pebble Beach, but just in a slightly different flavor. Spyglass Hill has a lot of really unique, really cool golf holes, but a lot of the same formula that works at Pebble Beach will also work at Spyglass Hill. Pebble Beach is one of the shortest golf courses yearly on the PGA Tour. Spyglass Hill is not significantly longer. Pebble Beach has the smallest green complexes year over year on the PGA Tour. Spyglass Hill's greens are not very bigger. Pebble Beach, heavily bunkered greens, thick rough around the greens. Spyglass Hill, much of the same. The only difference is Spyglass Hill is a little more inland than Pebble Beach, so it's a little bit more tree-lined. It's not quite as wide open as Pebble Beach. So really on days where the wind picks up, it kind of creates an interesting dynamic where Pebble Beach is much more exposed to the wind than Spyglass Hill. However, because of the amount of hazards, a Spyglass Hill gets a little bit harder than Pebble Beach. So even though the wind won't have as much of a factor, but because of all the trees are what will make it more difficult. So right now, I'm not looking ahead too much at the weather forecast, but right now, the way the winds are shaping up, it does appear as if you will want to play your round at Pebble Beach on Thursday and your round at Spyglass Hill on Friday because scoring will be a little bit better on Thursday. But I don't know if that's going to hold. I don't know if that's something I would go with yet. If you're playing Showdown DFS, Pebble Beach does generally play slightly easier, but Spyglass Hill does still yield plenty of birdies. It just yields a little more bogeys than Pebble Beach does. So I definitely think you can still mix and match golfers from both courses if you're doing Showdown, DFS, or 1 round underdog draft or something like that. But it just is something to consider, the fact that this is a 2-course rotation. And if you want to stack up 1 course, I think that's totally a move that you can go for as well. But now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and break down Pebble Beach. So as mentioned, this is one of the shortest golf courses on the PGA Tour, one of the smallest green complexes on the PGA Tour, actually the smallest green complexes on the PGA Tour. And there is not a lot of water on Pebble Beach, even though this is a coastal golf course. Pebble Beach only has 1 water hazard. You may know it as the Pacific Ocean. And there are, I believe, 7 holes that are borderline with the Pacific Ocean, but you got to really hit a ball pretty darn wayward to end up with your ball in the ocean here on this golf course. So water does not play a massive factor here at Pebble Beach. What does play a massive factor is those small greens like we were talking about. So the way Pebble Beach is set up, like I said, I think this is like ideal for my personal golf game as an amateur. I actually got the privilege of playing Pebble Beach on a simulator at one of my local courses, was able to shoot an 85. I was quite proud of myself. I'm about a 12 handicap usually. So an 85 on that golf course, I feel like I did pretty good. Anyway, why do I think it's good for my golf game? Well, Pebble Beach has quite wide fairways with quite wide landing zones. It is not tree lined. The rough is not all that thick. There is not that big of a penalty for missing the fairway. I am not an elite driver of the golf ball as an amateur. I'm quite inaccurate. I'm not that long off the tee. So any course that de-emphasizes off the tee play like Pebble Beach is going to suit me very well. It's also quite short, which means you're going to have a lot of short irons and wedges into golf course, which are kind of my jam as a golfer. And hitting those into small greens just allows me to separate with my approach play. And if I can't separate with my approach play, well, then I do believe I'm above average chipper and putter, which small greens will only exacerbate those two skills, because what the small greens are going to do is they are going to make it so that way the green and regulation percentage is going to be a little bit lower. So the short game is going to come into play a little bit more here at this course. And with the greens being quite small, if you're on the green and you're a good putter, you're going to have a chance to make your birdie putt. And if you're off the green and you're chipping, then a lot of strokes in this tournament are going to come down to whether you can make the putt to get up and down for par after you have missed the green. The one thing I will say about Pebble Beach is that the par fives all play quite easy. They're all holes that pretty much the entire field is going to be able to reach into. So really, this is a course where distance is not really that much of an advantage at all. A lot of the par fours are so short that, like, really, off the tee, they're just going to be hitting whatever club will get them to whatever number they're comfortable with, because you're going to have a ton of wedge shots into greens. And if a guy's more comfortable with an 80-yard wedge shot than a 50-yard wedge shot, well, then they're going to club down a little bit off the tee so that they can give themselves that 80-yard wedge shot. Because if we're being honest, the position in the fairway that they're in is not actually all that important this week. And really, there's not that big of a penalty for missing it. So what this week is really going to come down to is approach play first and foremost, with wedges and short irons. And then second off, it's going to come down to around the green play and putting. And if you look at golfers who have played well here historically, it is a bunch of guys who are known for their short game. Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, Justin Rose. So there's just plenty of credence here this week to prioritizing around the green play and putting and approach play. If you look at how Wyndham Clark won this tournament last year, Wyndham Clark went nuclear on Saturday, shooting a 60. Remember, this event last year was shortened to 54 holes because of the weather on Sunday and Monday. They just were not going to be able to play the event. And so basically, Wyndham went nuclear on Saturday, and it was because he was able to play driver on enough holes that gave him wedge shots into greens. He's an elite wedge player, and he's an elite putter. And so he hit a ton of greens, and he hit a ton of birdie putts on these small greens. And so that is what allowed him to separate. And I think the formula could very much be considered the same here again this week. Now, we do this every week on the PGA Tour, but we're going to break down our key stats here at Pebble Beach. The only off the tee stat I'm looking at this week is good drives gained or good drive percentage. The good drive stat basically says, hey, did you hit the fairway? If the answer is yes, then you get credit for a good drive. If you said no, did you hit the green in regulation? If the answer is yes, then you get credit for a good drive. If your answer was no to both those questions, bad drive. So good drives and good drives gained relative to the field is a good way to look at this week, because basically what it is going to combine is a little bit of off the tee play and a little bit of approach play. Because if you're putting yourself in position where you can still hit the green, then you're going to be in good shape here at Pebble Beach, because there's not that much of a penalty for missing the fairway. Strokes gained approach is going to be a priority this week, with there being just a ton of wedge shots into greens. I do think that you're going to want to prioritize proximity 75 to 100 and 100 to 125 if you're looking at any of the proximity buckets. I also think the strokes gained around the green is going to be pretty big, because of the fact that you're going to see a low greens and regulation percentage. And if you're looking at putting, I want to look at putting on POA, and I want to look at putting on the range of 10 to 15 feet. Because you're going to have a ton of those putts, whether they're for birdie or par this week, and your ability to make them is going to determine your score on the scorecard. Course history and comp course performance, I think this week is pretty important. I want guys who have played at short golf courses well in the past, because this is your prototypical short golf course. And really, if we're being totally honest, I would value that much more than recent form. Just with the fact that a lot of these guys are playing their first or second event of the year. Some of these guys have been playing on the DP World Tour. I would rather prioritize a course fit than a recent form. And honestly, this course brings everybody into play. The fact that it is so short will allow the shorter hitters in the field to play well. It'll allow the guys who, normally don't play all that well at courses like Torrey Pines or, major championships. It'll allow them to have a shot and win this week as well. So my comp courses for this week, it's quite a long list, but they're all of the short variety or the coastal variety. And then there's an interesting one. So we've got Port Royal, home of the Bermuda Championship, Wailea, home of the Stony Open, Sea Island, both courses, home of the RSM Classic, Colonial Country Club, which is agronomically completely different from Pebble Beach, but it's another short golf course where you've seen multiple crossover winners like Justin Rose, Daniel Berger, and Jordan Spieth. Silverado, which is another course in Northern California that is a short course where there's not that big of a penalty for missing the fairway. And then I added an interesting one this week. You're not going to see a whole lot of other people talk about this one, but I like TPC San Antonio as a comp. We've seen Jordan Spieth play well at both these courses over the years. I think TPC San Antonio is a course that the approaches are very stratified. You're either going to see super short approaches or super long approaches at TBC San Antonio, which is also what you're going to get at Pebble Beach, because on the par fives, if you're going forward in two, you're going to get a super long approach. TBC San Antonio is that. TBC San Antonio is also a course with a fairly low green irregulation percentage, and it's a course where the greens are quite small on some holes, and you can really separate with your putter. It's how we saw Denny McCarthy and Akshay Bhatia light it up there last year. Both those guys do have a good history here at Pebble Beach. All right, so with that being said, that is our complete course breakdown. Let's go ahead and switch on over and dive down the rabbit hole. All right, so if you have been with us for a while, you do know that when I say the rabbit hole, I don't mean an actual rabbit hole in the ground. I'm talking about the rabbit hole, which is a tool from BetSperts Golf that is just one of the best golf databases around. It allows you to have all sorts of different filters and conditions to really get in the weeds and nitpick and find what golfers have the correct micro skills that you're going to be looking for that week. So here's what we got this week. I used the rabbit hole to build a custom model. I'll tell you the results in the model here at the end. But we're going to go over the top 5 for a lot of the categories that I wanted to look at this week. First off is just approach play in the last calendar year, who are generally the best approach players in the field. Number 1 should not surprise you. It's Scotty Scheffler, followed by Tom Hoge, winner at this event. Previously, Tom Hoge, Tony Finau, Corey Connors, and Doug Ghim rounding out the top 5. If you switch on over to strokes gained around the green, top 5, Hideki Matsuyama, Scotty Scheffler, Mackenzie Hughes, Justin Thomas, and Davis Thompson, with, the quality short games there for those guys. Now, if you just look at good drive percentage, I said that's the only off the tee stat I'm going to be looking at this week. Our top 5 is Aaron Rai, Doug Ghim, Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, and Scotty Scheffler in the top 5. Get used to hearing Scotty Scheffler's name. If you look at the different proximity buckets, on the rabbit hole, we do have access to 50 to 100 and 100 to 150. If you look at 50 to 100, that is wedge range. Number 1, Russell Henley. Number 2, Wyndham Clark, defending champion of this event, Wyndham Clark. Number 3, Ludwig Oberg, runner-up last year, Ludwig Oberg. Number 4, Hideki Matsuyama. Number 5, Scotty Scheffler. If you range it out to 100 to 150, your top 5 is Scheffler, Justin Thomas, Russell Henley, Shane Lowry, and Tom Hoge. Scheffler and Henley, the only 2 that were in the top 5 for both of those distances. Now, I also wanted to look at par 5 scoring. Number 1, get used to hearing his name, Scotty Scheffler. Number 2, Taylor Pendrith. 3, Patrick Cantlay. 4, Billy Horschel. And 5, Max Grazerman. I did want to look at around the green proximity as well. We mentioned this stat last week. It's basically saying, hey, when you have a chip or a bunker shot, how close to the hole do you get it? Because this week, with there being POA greens, you're going to see a ton of missed 3 to 5 footers. Like the putts that would normally be considered gimmies, putts that would normally be considered automatic, are not automatic on POA because it's a bumpy surface that can just be kind of random. And so really there's exponentially more value this week around getting your chips and bunker shots to tap in range as opposed to, just like a 5-foot putt. So who are the guys who stick it really close on their chips and putts? Scotty Scheffler, Siwoo Kim, Harry Hall, Sung J M, and Russell Henley. I also wanted to look at just in general strokes gained on short golf courses, with this being one of the prototypical short golf courses on the PGA Tour. The best guys on short golf courses: Justin Thomas, Jason Day, Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose, and Scotty Scheffler. If you make it just approach on short golf courses, because let's be honest, that's the skill we really want to isolate here is, are they hitting their approaches in these short golf courses well? The top guys in this category: Justin Thomas, Hideki Matsuyama, Scotty Scheffler, Keegan Bradley, and Russell Henley. If you switch on over to strokes gained on courses with small greens, which Pebble Beach, smallest greens on the PGA Tour. Number 1, Patrick Cantlay. Number 2, Rory McIlroy. Number 3, Scotty Scheffler. Number 4, Jason Day. And number 5, Justin Thomas. If you make it just approach on these courses with small greens: Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Hideki Matsuyama, and Victor Hovland. And then also when you look at strokes gained total in windy rounds, Pebble Beach can be quite random and the wind can pick up out of nowhere. So who are guys that will play well if it does get windy out there? Rory McIlroy is number 1, followed by Tony Finau, Scotty Scheffler, Adam Scott, Sung J M, and Jason Day. Now, if you look at our list of comp courses from earlier, who are the best guys in the field at that list of comp courses? Well, it's not a shocker. It's a lot of the guys who have played really well here in the past. Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, Jason Day, Corey Connors, Gary Woodland as your top 5. And then guess who's number 6? Oh, yeah, it's Scotty Scheffler. Now, this is the first stat Scotty Scheffler is not going to show up for is the putting stats. If you look at just 10 to 15 feet putts, which I think is a priority because you'll hear who comes up near the top. It's a lot of the guys who have played really well at this course. It's a lot of guys who have played really well in this event last year. So if you just look at 10 to 15 foot putts, number 1 is Rasmus Højgaard. Number 2, Thomas Dietrich, played well here last year. Number 3, Harris English. Number 4, Wyndham Clark, defending champ. Number 5, Mackenzie Hughes. Number 6, Jason Day, elite course history. Number 7, Cameron Young. That one was shocking. Number 8, Ludwig Oberg, runner-up last year. Number 9, Jordan Spieth, great course history. And number 10, Davis Thompson. Now, if you also filter out putting on just POA greens, which is what we're going to see this week, the best POA putter in the field is Denny McCarthy. That's no shock. He is one of the best putters on the PGA Tour, followed by Max Homa, Matthew Pavone, Wyndham Clark, defending champ, and Maverick McNeely coming in number 5. Now, you throw all of this into a custom model, and you guys probably see exactly where this is going. Number 1 in my model, Scotty Scheffler. So this is the biggest question of the week, is what to do with Scotty Scheffler. First off, I will not be betting Scotty Scheffler outright. I just, betting guys to win golf tournaments at about 3 to 1 just doesn't do it for me. I just can't. Even if you do think there's about a 25% chance he wins this tournament, I just don't think that's a good mathematical decision. I don't think it's something that's going to pay off in the long run. So not betting him outright. In DFS, I actually think you could make the argument that Scheffler is going to be lowly owned because he's coming off of the hand injury. And, if you play a lot of golf, it's kind of hard to play golf when you got a hand injury, right? So I don't think a lot of people are going to be eager to go to him. He's also significantly priced up higher than the entire rest of the field. He's a full $1,000 salary ahead of Rory McIlroy. So I don't think he's going to be super highly owned. And honestly, you get people like when they talk DFS that there's people that want to be very dichotomous. People that say that, you got to lock this guy, you got to fade this guy. You don't have to do that. You can play however much Scheffler you want to play. If the field comes in about 25% and you want to make it a 5v5, then play Scheffler at about 25%. You can do that. I'm probably going to be overweight of the field on Scheffler. If you look at all the elevated events last year, there were so many times where the stars and scrubs approach was profitable in DFS. And there's so many times where in elevated events, Scotty Scheffler just played super well or won the tournament. And the other guys near the top don't give you anywhere near that amount of security. Number 2 in my model is Hideki Matsuyama. This is a guy I might be fading. I think he is like a perfect setup at this course. He's a great approach player, great around the green player, great POA putter, great wedge player. But is Hideki really like the kind of guy who's going to win 3 times in 4 months? I'm just not seeing it. Plus, he's played a lot of golf recently. Hideki doesn't normally play a lot of golf. We've kind of given him a hard time about that here in the past on this podcast. I'm probably full fading Hideki, even though he showed up as number 2 in my model. Just how I feel. 3 and 4 are 2 guys that are going to be supremely popular in DFS. They are supremely popular outright bets this week. Justin Thomas and Kyle Morikawa. Why does this course shape up particularly well for these 2 guys? So first off, both of these 2 guys are supremely hot and cold putters. When it gets hot, it gets real hot, and they can give you a win in an event or a runner-up or just a really good finish. They're both really good approach players, particularly with their wedges. Thomas in particular is quite weak with his driver. Morikawa is pretty strong with it, but he's not an elite distance driver. He's more of an accuracy driver. So this course is devaluing the skill set that these 2 guys don't have all that well of. And it is placing an emphasis on a wedge play and putting, which they're great wedge players and they can be elite putters. So I think that they're going to be very popular this week. I think you're going to see a lot of people in DFS play both of them together in the same lineup because you certainly can do that this week. And I just think that they're going to be guys that are both great fits. And I'm very it kind of confirms my thoughts that they showed up at 3 and 4 in my model. Number 5 is a guy I'm definitely going to be playing in DFS. That's Russell Henley. Russell Henley is a short course king. Russell Henley is one of the best approach players in this field. Russell Henley is a great wedge player. He just checks a ton of boxes. He doesn't have a ton of course history here at this event, but he really is a lot of the micro skills that we're looking for we've got in Russell Henley. Tony Finau is 6, and I really think that's just off the back of his approach play. He's been quite poor so far in the calendar year 2025, so I'm not exactly eager to play Tony Finau, but I understand why he showed up near the top of my model. 7 is Patrick Cantlay, who has great history here. He's also a great wedge player, also a great short game player. I kind of like Cantlay. So, like, let me give like a full-fledged explanation here. I kind of like Cantlay at like thinking man's golf courses, right? Courses where there's going to be a lot of strategic decisions where, guys are going to be playing to certain spots. You look at the courses he's played well in his career. Muirfield Village is a course where your approach play matters supremely, but, you're going to be picking what number you want to play at. He's played well at Harbor Town, which is one of the shortest golf courses on tour, one of the most positional in terms of where you're at in the fairway. Pebble Beach is quite in the same way. And he's got a great history here, and he's just good at these strategic golf courses. Because part of the reason why he plays so slow is because he's always trying to figure out the best angle and the best strategy. So I think that Cantlay's in a really good spot, and he number 7 in my model kind of confirms that. Rory McIlroy, number 8, that's a little bit underachieving relative to his salary. I'm probably going to be fading him in DFS. I don't like Rory at short golf courses. I don't like Rory at easy golf courses. I just don't think this is a great fit for Rory. So I'm probably going to be fading. Adam Scott, number 9, that one surprised me a little bit. Adam Scott's kind of just hard to quantify because the schedule he plays is so much different than most of these guys in this field. And then Aaron Rai, number 10. Aaron Rai, another short course king, another guy who rates out really well in approach play, really well in good drive percentage. So definitely another guy that I'm going to be looking at into my DFS lineups as a value play in number 10 in my model. All right, so that's the top 10 for my model right now. If you want to know who is going to make the final top 10 of that model, every week I tinker with this model. I kind of perfect it by the end of the week, and I post it to my Patreon, patreon.com/MikesMoneyPicks on Wednesday before the tournament starts, along with my DFS core and a write-up for the tournament. So if you want access to that, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/MikesMoneyPicks. If you want more information from me, you can also follow me on Twitter @MikesMoneyPicks. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. The link is in the description on YouTube as well as the audio feed. The Discord is entirely free. It's just a bunch of really smart, really good people talking strategy, talking DFS, and golf is one of the sports that we have a lot of chatter going on in there for. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick breather, and then let's take a look at the board, see if we can identify a few more guys we like this week. All right, so taking a look at the board this week, let's talk about a little bit of DFS strategy as a whole. So as I mentioned, I do think that it's going to be quite popular this week to go with a little bit of a stars and scrubs approach. Now, the way people do that is going to be slightly different depending on which stars you start with, because what I think is entirely possible is to start your lineup with Scotty and then go with somebody else in the 9K range and then dip down to like the low end 7 and the 6s and kind of fill the rest of your lineup out from there. I also think it's quite possible to get 3 guys in the 9K range. Like I said, I do expect Morikawa and Thomas to be very popular. And then you could close your lineup out with guys in the 7K range. What I think is going to be very often the approach this week, with it being a signature event, a no-cut event, with it being only 80 players, what you're going to see a lot of this week is people are just going to like X out the entire bottom of the field. And so I really think the ownership below that number $7,000 on DraftKings is going to be quite low. And so if you want to be different, go find guys in the 6K range that are going to help you. We're going to talk about a few of them here to end the show. Now, in terms of other guys near the top that I particularly like or don't like, Ludwig Oberg, a little bit worrisome at Torrey Pines. He was kind of running away with that tournament. And then on Friday, he starts like dry heaving while he's playing his round, which is not what you want to see. And he just totally fades over the weekend. He was first round leader all the way to 40 seconds. Not what you want to see. I don't know if we know what Ludwig is yet, but what we do know about Ludwig, he's an elite driver of the golf ball. He has his one win at a short coastal course at the RSM Classic. He's played well at short courses. He's also played well at super long courses. Maybe that's just going to be the MO with Ludwig, is we want him to either have a wedge in his hand or a short iron in his hand. Or a long iron in his hand. So I really think that this is not a bad spot for Ludwig, but his health is definitely a little bit of a concern for me. And if it kind of gets you off of him, I kind of get it, right? Now, going down from there, I'll be honest, aside from Cantlay, I'm not super interested in the low 9K range, just not. Jason Day, though, his course history here merits mention. So you look at his history here, he has never missed a cut. Just going back to 2016, he's played here every year except one, never finished outside the top 25, including a T6 last year when this event had its best field ever because it was a signature event. So Jason Day's just got the goods here at Pebble Beach. He's been putting the ball really poorly lately, but like Jason Day is not a poor putter of the golf ball. So I'm willing to rock with Jason Day this week, especially considering he was just coming off of a third place finish at the American Express. Victor Hovland is $8,800. He's the fade of the week to me. Just a guy who is terrible around the green. He doesn't have any lead in form. He's an elite approach player, but like this course is going to test you around the green game, and he just doesn't have it. He hasn't had it ever since he parted ways with his swing coach the first time, and now he's parted ways with him the second time. I'm just not here for Victor Hovland this week, and he's going to be my fade of the week. Wyndham Clark at $8,600 definitely has my intrigue. We've mentioned how he did win here last year, kind of following that formula of wedge play and putting. You got to like Wyndham at a course that's going to set up like that. And so I definitely think this is a good spot for him. I think $8,600 is a very reasonable price tag for him on DraftKings. Now, the lower 8K range on DraftKings has some guys that I think make for very interesting outright bets. I think they're more of guys that you would want to bet in like the top 10 market, top 5 market maybe, or just play in DFS. But there's a lot of intriguing plays here in this range. Will Zalatoris, $8,400, playing some of the best golf of his career coming in. Withdrew from Torrey Pines, but he's coming off of a 12th at the American Express, which I particularly did not think that was a great course fit for him. But he appears to be improving his putting. He appears to be improving his short iron and wedge game, which is what he's going to need here this week. Taylor Pendrith is a guy that is a long hitter off the tee that surprisingly plays short golf courses very, very well. If you look at his stats, like that kind of bears that out. And so I'm kind of here for Taylor Pendrith as kind of like a little bit of a sleeper. I think that really when you look at the different range that he's at, I think a lot of people are not going to play him a whole lot. And you look at his lead in form coming in, he's been an elite off the tee player so far this year. Approach play has been hit or miss. Around the green play and putting has been hit or miss, but like you kind of just like him at like short golf courses, right? So I definitely think Taylor Pendrith worth a look. All right. After that, you've got Maverick McNeely, who every time the PGA Tour's in Northern California, you're going to get like, oh, Maverick McNeely, home game. He played this course growing up. And he's had good results here. Second in 2021, fifth in 2020. So maybe there's something there. Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry, $8,000. Those are two guys that you never have to pull my leg to play in DraftKings. I'm kind of here for both of them. $7,900. Jordan Spieth, elite level course history here. Second in 2022, third in 2021, winner back in 2017. He's coming off of a wrist injury. I have no idea what to make of it. But if you're a believer in course history, Jordan Spieth could be your guy. Russell Henley, I think, is an elite course fit, even though he doesn't have a particularly great history here. We mentioned in the model how I love his course fit. All right, let's talk about a few guys in the 7K range real quick. Tom Kim, one of the best approach players in the field statistically, was absolutely electric on TGL tonight. Like he kind of stole the show from Rory and Tiger. I kind of like fired up emotional Tom Kim coming into this tournament. I just kind of like the idea of it. He hasn't been great to start the calendar year, but he's great at short golf courses. He almost won last year at the Travelers. He's been great at the Scottish Open. Like he really plays his best golf at short golf courses. I think this is a pretty good spot for him. Robert McIntyre is also a guy that I think this is a pretty good spot for. So you look at where Robert McIntyre's won. He won the Scottish Open and he won the Canadian Open. And those are two quite short golf courses. And at the Sony Open, he lost about a stroke and a half per round putting, was great in every other category. He's normally an elite putter of the golf ball. So I'm kind of willing to hope that if he continues his recent tee to green play and flips the putter, this could be a great, great week for Robert McIntyre. After that, Bo Hossler at 7,600 has great course history here, 14th, 11th, and 3rd over the last 3 editions. That's nothing to sneeze at. Like that's pretty solid. Thomas Dietrich was 4th here last year. He's a confirmed great POA putter. He's also a great wind player. So I have a lot of hope for Thomas Dietrich this week at 7,400. I also love this lower 7K range. Like I said, a lot of people this week are going to finish their lineups in this lower 7K range. You've got short course kings, JT Poston and Harry Hall. Harry Hall has one of the best short games in all the PGA Tour. He's a great around the green player. He's a great putter of the golf ball. He withdrew from the Farmers last week, but he had been really, really good to start the season in pretty much every category. I am here for Harry Hall. Akshay Bhatia ended the season quite poorly, but he was in my lineup that won me 150 times my money. back in 2021 when he finished T30 here at this event. Notably, he hit every green in his first round at Pebble Beach as like an 18-year-old. That's like unheard of. Hitting every green when these greens are this small, that's incredible. I think he can come back and do it again. The numbers for him aren't very well because he ended his season quite poorly, but I'm here for Akshay. And then you've got Tom Hoge, previous winner here at $7,300. Great approach player. Never had to shake my leg to play him. JJ Spawn, $7,200 is a guy we got to talk about. He almost won at the Sony Open. He was great there. He almost won at the Farmers Open last week. Just a weird tournament, right? But he's been great on approach. Just great on approach. And if you're going to be great on approach, this is a pretty good spot to be great on approach. And also, he won at one of my comp courses. When we mentioned TBC San Antonio as a comp course, he has a win there, as does Akshay Bhatia, by the way. So I think that this is a pretty good spot for JJ Spawn. I'm definitely going to go back to him. Denny McCarthy, we mentioned when we did the model, he's the best POA putter in the field. He's always at his best at short golf courses because he's just usually starting like a lap behind everybody else because of his lack of driving distance. This is a course that's not going to do that to him. So I really think this is a good spot for Denny McCarthy. I think him and Aaron Rye are going to be probably as deep down as people will go, but I'm certainly going to be going to him. I think this is a pretty good spot for him. In the 6K range, you've got Eric Cole, who I said was a crap play at the Farmers Insurance Open, and he made the cut. It wasn't pretty, but he made the cut. I thought he was kind of a crap play at American Express as well. Made the cut. Fifth at the Sony. That's another short course. That's a comp course. He's at his best at short golf courses when he has a wedge in his hand. And this is kind of the spot you would want to go back to him, in my opinion, for Eric Cole. Other guy I like in this range, Austin Eckroat, I think is just a guy that I'm just going to play a lot of. I just think he's super talented, and I'm just a guy who likes to bet on talent. He did win in the swing season, and I think he's just a guy that's going to win a ton of events on the PGA Tour. Nico Echeverria, really solid approach play recently. Great at short golf courses, won at the Zozo, which is a short golf course. No problem with it. Doug Gim, elite approach player. Justin Rose, elite level course history. But my favorite play in the 6K range, a guy that might be a core play. It's a guy you're probably not expecting. No, it's not Matthew Pavone, even though Matthew Pavone does putt very well on POA. He was third here last year. That's a good argument for Matthew Pavone. It's Justin Lauer. So when you look at Justin Lauer's performances, right? If you just look at what he does well, he does short courses well, he does easy courses well, he's a great putter, he's a great wedge player. So obviously the Farmers Insurance Open was a terrible fit for him. He missed the cut. Third at the American Express. That's the formula for Justin Lauer. Be great on approach, be with your wedges, be a great putter, finish in third place. T5 at Bermuda, always plays well at Bermuda. T2 at the Worldwide Technology Championship in the fall. Not the same type of course, but like just a sign that he's playing good golf. T7 at the Procore, that's Silverado. That was a comp course. And then he's just a guy that tends to putt the ball really well, tends to play well at short golf courses. So I really think that this is a good spot for him, and I'm going to be going to him as kind of like my favorite play here in the low 6K range. All right, so we've gone a little bit over our self-imposed time limit of 30 minutes for our breakdown, but hey, it's the first signature event of the season. This is a good one. This is one of my favorite events. I'm fine going a little bit over. We got to talk one and done. So I've been using this spreadsheet to plan my one and dones because I am in 2 one and dones, one of which is on Splash, one of which is my own that I run on Fantasy Golf World Championships. And so what I did before the season, some of you guys may have watched the video. I went and kind of selected every single tournament and just kind of mapped out who I want to use for my one and dones. I haven't really followed my own advice a whole lot, even though it would have been pretty darn good to have Jason Day at the American Express, but I very wisely faded Max Homa last week, who was my preliminary selection at Torrey Pines. So this week, my preliminary selection was Ludwig. And I think my logic there is still sound. This is the first signature event of the year. We have seen Ludwig log real rounds at Torrey Pines, and if his health is good, I think he's a great fit for this event as, a great wedge player. I don't think this is the place to play Scotty. I think that, with it being a signature event, you want to play one of the top golfers in the field, but I don't want to play Scotty coming off of an injury where I don't have any kind of sample size with knowing how he's going to play. So it's not going to be Scotty. I might go back to Ludwig. I might just stick with my preliminary selection. I might just do that, right? Now, if I weren't to stick with Ludwig, I think it's a great spot for Wyndham Clark. I can't envision anywhere down the line where I'm going to want to use Wyndham Clark. So I think this is a really good spot for him, honestly. I think this is a great spot for Colin Morikawa. just with it being kind of, a short golf course, one that's going to place an emphasis on wedge play. I think it's a pretty good spot for him. Jason Day, I think, is going to be a very popular selection because, again, I don't think there's anywhere you're going to want to play him down the road. I think he is a great course fit. He's got great course history here. Jason Day makes a lot of sense as a play. And then Justin Thomas makes a ton of sense as a play to me. Those are probably going to be the guys that I think are going to be like supremely popular. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to try to reinvent the wheel here and go like away from those guys. I think I'm going to go ahead and pencil in Justin Thomas for one of them, for the one on Splash. I'm not going to tell you who I'm playing in my one and done because a lot of people that are in that one and done watch these shows, but I'm thinking Justin Thomas on Splash. I think that Phoenix is a good spot for Justin Thomas. FedEx St. Jude's a good spot for Justin Thomas, but he played very well at the American Express. This is a good course fit for him. I'm kind of going to buy both recent form and course fit and go with Justin Thomas. But all right, y'all, that's going to do it here for this episode. So we broke down the course. We took a look at the board and we made a custom model. We told you what you can expect from a lot of the golfers that are in this 80-man field. So hopefully we helped you guys find some winners here on this show. If this video helped you out in any way, please hit the like button on YouTube. It helps me out a ton when you guys do that. For listening on audio, please rate and review and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you can be with us for the rest of the PGA Tour season. But like I said, this should be a great week of golf. Just a truly great week. We've got one of the most picturesque, beautiful golf courses, iconic golf courses in America, probably second most recognizable golf course behind only Augusta National, in my opinion. And it's hosting the best golfers in the world for 4 days. And it's going to be on our television screens. In football, there's only going to be the Pro Bowl on Sunday. And so this is a week where golf should take center stage. It should be some great golf, should be a great time. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Although I will say, I coached girls flag football at my high school this season. I'm kind of looking forward to the Pro Bowl to watch people play flag football and maybe take some notes, see if I can find some new plays. But anyway, that's going to do it here for this episode, y'all. Hopefully we gave you guys plenty of information to help find some winners here this week. In terms of I didn't really mention any direct outright bets. I'm thinking I'm going to fire an each way bet on Justin Lauer, though. That's what I'm thinking right now. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Best of luck to whatever game you're playing here at Pebble Beach, whether it's DFS, whether it's betting, whether it's one and done, showdown DFS, underdog drafts, whatever. Best of luck to you guys this week. Hopefully we helped you guys out. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point, and I will see you guys next time.